What's up everybody, Mike here with Trail 7. Today I'm bringing you Trail 7's plug and play full audio system for your non-B&O Bronco. I'm going to show you what Trail 7 puts together for you, talk a little bit about what we have going on here, and then we're going to show you how easy this is to install into your Bronco. So what we have here today is Trail 7's full plug and play amp bracket bundle. What you see is how you get it, right? So we're going to put the wiring harness together, we're going to attach the T-harness, we're going to prepare the power harness, we're going to prepare the sub harness, the ground wiring, the amplifier is going to come mounted to the bracket. The LOC, this module here, will be attached. This will be adjusted based on how it's going to connect and turn on and power, etc. The RCAs are attached, the speaker wires are attached, everything is ready to go. Just as you see it here is exactly how you're going to receive it. So you don't have to worry about any guesswork on your side. What components do you need? How are you going to connect everything? We've all done that all for you. Now we've already shown you the speaker install. Let's go ahead and give those speakers the juice that they need. Today we're going to install the bracket setup with the kicker amplifier, but just know that we have this bundle set up with many other amp options. So now, as I said, this is a very easy install to perform, especially when everything is already prepped for you. You need a couple of very basic tools. This is the amp bracket that you're going to receive it. We're going to show you how easy this thing is to install, and I'll walk you through a couple of other things that we've put together for you to make this as easy as it's going to be. So let's go ahead and get started installing this into a non-B&O Bronco. Now there are two non-B&O Bronco models. There's one that has the faux subwoofer housing in the back. There's one that does not have that. And I'll tell you once we get into that what the difference is and what you're going to need to do if you have the one that does not have that. The trim panel piece in the back is set up to install this if you have the faux box there. If you don't have it, we provide a screen for you, but you're going to have to cut a little piece out. It's easier to show you once we're into the install back here. So let's go ahead and get started on that. We're going to start with the back here, removing the panels. We're going to mount the bracket first and work our way up to install the power and the T-harness to the radio. So let's go. All right, we're here at the back of the Bronco. I'm going to remove a couple of these trim panel pieces in order to remove this side panel piece here. What I was explaining before on the table there, that this Bronco here, it's a non-B&O, but this does have the faux sub. So when you remove this, you'll see a little sub enclosure and a faux amp. It's a fake sub, it's a fake amplifier. If you don't have this, instead of having this screen here, this grill here, you're going to have a little shelf, all right? In order to fit the amp bracket, that shelf will need to be cut out. And we're going to provide a screen grill in the options of the checkout if you have that. So we'll provide that screen grill, and you'll have to cut that out and apply the screen grill. It'll sound easier and it'll make more sense if you have the cutout that I'm referring to. Then you'll be able to visualize it. The screen grill that we'll provide is something like this. In this case here, this does have the fake sub and the fake amplifier. So let's go ahead and start removing these trim panel pieces to get that out. We're going to start by removing this board down here. Underneath each one of these corners is a 10mm bolt that we'll need to get out. Since this does have the soft top, this little bracket here on the side needs to be removed. This is an 8mm bolt. So we'll take the bolts out, take this trim panel piece off here, take this trim panel piece off this front here, and then we'll be able to pull the side trim piece off here. So first 10mm bolts. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and get this 8mm bolt off of here as well. All right, now I can lift this piece out of here. All right, now let's get this trim panel piece removed here. This just pulls right up. Just pull the tabs out. Set that aside. We also need to take this trim panel piece up here. Same thing, this just pulls from either side. Grab it from the right side and pull it up, or grab it from the left side and pull it up. You'll notice there are just a bunch of tabs that are holding it in. Now we are ready to take this trim panel piece off the side here. A couple things to note: you have these two outlets that are connected. So behind there, the connections to remove them are kind of short. On the back of this one, you'll see a little tab that you can press to get the connection out. Grabbing a small flathead screwdriver. And then also when you're removing this panel, there is a connection right behind here. So don't just grab this and yank. Grab from here, pull it out slowly, and you'll see one connection here to remove first. Oh, there's this little trim panel piece up top here. That'll just pop right out. So here's the connector that's at the edge part. There's a little tab on the bottom that disconnects and removes the connector. Just press the tab on the bottom and just pull it out. Now the bottom piece is removed. There's two more connectors up here. So here are two connectors here. This one here just has a little tab to press in. Just press the tab and it slides right out. That's for the light. The next one here for the 12 volt. There's a little button, a little tab right on top to press with the little screwdriver, and that'll slide this out. There is one little section of the panel over there on the passenger rear door area that is underneath another panel. So let's go ahead and remove that panel real quick to release it, and then we can take the rest of this side panel off from over there. Here's the panel that needs to come off, but it's underneath this little piece here. So we can just pull this up. You can remove it completely if you like. Just pops right out. Now that this has been released, we can just pull the rest of this panel off. You can grab up top here, just pull it out. All right, with the side panel piece out, we can go ahead and start removing the faux sub and amplifier, the fake sub and fake amp. We'll get that out here. Let's move back over there. All right, so we're gonna remove this fake sub box here. This is a fake sub, this is a fake amplifier. It's funny, Ford actually puts a big red X on these. So we're gonna remove this, that's where our kit is gonna mount. There are 4 10mm bolts that are gonna remove this sub box. One down here, one up top here, one over here, and then one over here. The ground wire is going to be terminated onto here, so we can go ahead and remove this ground or get that prepped to remove as well. This is 8mm bolt right here. So let's get the sub box out first. To disconnect, we need to disconnect it from the Bronco. Even though it's not in use, it's still connected. Pull the tab out, remove the connector, and remove the 4 10mm bolts. Switch over and let's get the 8mm bolt off of here. Just go ahead and remove this 8mm bolt that's holding in the ground wire. Now everything is unbolted. This is just gonna pull right out. And there you go. That is the factory fake subwoofer and amplifier. Now that area is cleared off, our amp bracket is gonna mount right into that spot. Let's go ahead and grab the amp bracket. I'm going to set it in. I'm just going to ground it and put one bolt in just to hold it in place for us to do the rest of the wiring, and then we'll come back at the end to put the final couple of bolts in there. But at least want to get it set into there and ground it most importantly. So as I said earlier, this is exactly how you're going to receive it from Trail 7, 100% mounted, ready to install. After the fake boxes are removed, this is going to fit right into its spot using the same mounting locations and the same factory mounting hardware. Let's go ahead and get this set into place. That's how it's going to look. I'm going to go ahead and just screw this top bolt in here just to hold it into place while we finish the wiring. And I didn't tighten it down, I just put it in there securely so it doesn't fall out as we're mounting the rest of the bolts and mounting the rest of everything in. So let's go ahead and land the ground. One thing to note on this amplifier, the kicker amp, the adjustments are all on the side here. What we have is a little S flathead screwdriver, so we can reach in here and adjust the gains and adjust everything that needs to be adjusted after it's installed. Recommend picking something up like this, it'll definitely help out. Otherwise, you can certainly set the gains prior to mounting the amplifier. What you would do is, instead of mounting this in here, just set it down, attach the ground, run the wiring, do the testing. You can adjust the gains and then mount it in. Either way. Since I do have this easy tool here, I can go ahead and mount it and then just come back and make any adjustments I need to. Other amplifiers, like our Alpine amplifiers, the adjustments are all in the front screen here. I definitely recommend mounting your amplifier with your gains and your adjustments on the sides, not on the top facing up if you're able to. So now that that's in, let's go ahead and get our power ran. Let's go ahead and get our wire ran to the front of the radio and finish on with our install. All right, so before we bolt the board down, let's go ahead and route our power wire to the front. Go ahead and route our pre-connected harness that's going to attach to the factory radio. On this here, you're going to disconnect this T-harness portion. We have Molex connectors already pre-terminated. And once you make the connections back at the radio, you can't get it wrong as long as you match color to color. So green and purple will connect with the green and purple. The white and the gray will connect with the white and gray, etc. So you just put this guy in your pocket. You'll need it later. Now let's go ahead also and connect the bass knob if it's not already attached to the LC5i Pro here. There's a little telephone jack connector. There's a port on the side here. Just connect that right into it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Because you're going to pull this also, this bass knob, up along to the front with the rest of the power and the wire harness. You're going to remove the bass knob so that way it makes it easier to pull through. Go ahead and toss this cables over here so we can pick them up from the other side. Now the wire harnesses and the cabling is all prepped over that side. So let's go ahead and move over there and I'll meet you over there. All right, we're over on this side now. We're gonna grab the power cable, the wiring harness, and the bass knob to route them up through here. But first, let's go ahead and start removing our trim panel pieces. So this trim panel piece first is gonna have to come off. It's on top of this one, which this bottom part needs to just push out a little bit so we can get the cabling through a little groove that's inside there. So let's get this piece off first and I'll walk you through the rest of it. These pieces just pop right out. We just want to have this loose enough to where we can kind of stick our hand in between here and on this side here where the cabling is going to go into. So we'll push it into there and we'll pull it out this way so it's underneath this trim panel piece. the same thing for these guys. You may even be able to just lift up the trim panel piece over the wire and kind of tuck it underneath there. Whichever works best to get it all underneath there. And then last, do the same thing with the base knob wire. Now we have all 3 wires through there. That's probably the most complicated part to get through just because this is so tight. Unless you take this whole panel off, of course, you can remove that just the same way that we did the passenger side. I just popped the bottom portion out, so whichever is easiest for you, really. Now we can't just pop these panels back in because we don't need to remove this again. And that's it. All right, we can carry on with routing the wires. Let's go ahead and pop this trim panel piece off here also. This just, you're gonna unclip it, push it out, and then we're gonna route the cabling behind there. All right, so now we need to get this portion of the front trim piece off. We'll pop this trim panel piece off next. This just lifts right off like that. All right, we're gonna take this trim panel piece off here. Remove this whole piece. It'll just help to get that wire through. You can probably get the wire through if you just push it out on this side and push the other side out. You can see through there, but just for ease of what we have going on here, you might as well just take the whole piece off. This easily just pops right off. Just push out with the clips. Just like all the other trim panel pieces. This has those little clips on there. Of course, you have the seat belt on this side. So we just have this lifted out of the way. Now we can reach all the way through from end to end. You can touch my fingers on both sides. Cool. Now we're gonna go ahead and feed the wiring through to get out to this side. One thing to note, there's a mechanism down here. There's a couple of wiring harnesses. Just route your cabling underneath all of those mechanisms and underneath all of the wires. It'll make sense when you stick your fingers back behind here. You'll see, or you'll feel what I'm talking about. Difficult to see on camera, but there's a nice clean channel way right in the bottom there that the cable will lay into. Again, if you just go underneath the mechanisms and underneath the wiring harnesses, which you can only feel once you stick your fingers back behind here. We'll come back and we'll zip tie all of this down, so don't worry about that for now. And now we have our wires here. All right, with the cabling pulled as far as we can go without having to get into removing the dead panel and a couple of trim panel pieces up here, let's go ahead and get these pieces so we can continue on with the power run. This grab handle has to come off in order to remove this panel piece here, which also removes this panel piece. And just note, there's the dead panel that it's attached to that. Underneath the cover plate, there are 2 10mm bolts. So you're gonna pop that cover plate off, remove those 10mm bolts, and this trim panel piece comes off. I'll show you, I'll just explain that's what's gonna happen. So let's get this grab handle removed first, trim panel piece, and then the dead panel. So with a T30 Torx bit, we're gonna remove these 4 bolts on the side. Pull the bottom portion out first, and the top comes right out. Now this piece comes out next, and it just pulls right out. Just note that there are 2 clips that are holding onto the bottom one here. I recommend pushing into the bottom and then pulling out so it doesn't break the tabs off. Like that. You don't want to break those little pieces off there. So this trim panel piece is next, but we need to remove the bolts that are holding in the dead panel piece. So there's a trim piece covering that. We're going to pop that off. It'll expose the two 10mm bolts. All right, let's go ahead and remove this piece off the top here. And I'll expose the two 10mm bolts. And then one more right up here. To give a couple of final spins of the finger, they like to stay on. There you go. Now this piece is ready to come out. Just be careful, you have your two bolts inside the holes there. Don't lose them. Just go ahead and bring the wiring up here. We have two different directions now with the wiring. The black harness is going to route through underneath the steering wheel column here and go to the head unit. And it's going to connect via our T connector. And then of course the power wire is going to feed through a grommet that's up top there into the battery. The base knob wire will follow a similar path as the wire harness. Underneath the steering wheel column here, this panel comes down of course, and we will Velcro attach the base knob right around here somewhere, or wherever you want to, but that's where I'll put it just for demonstration. All right, next we're gonna route the wiring to the radio to connect into the T-harness that we have prepped and provided. Let's go ahead and first remove this centerpiece here. There are two bolts to remove. One is behind the glove box. So let's go ahead and get that one out first. It's a 7mm bolt that's up top here. The other 7mm bolt is behind this panel here. So we're just going to pull this panel down underneath the steering wheel column. It's this 7mm bolt right here. Next we have to remove this grab handle. So you use again the T30 Torx bit. Next we're going to grab on both sides of this panel here. We're just going to pull this down. There's a little trim piece in the bottom that you can take off also that may help to make it easier. You can pull this piece out and I'll give you a little bit more working room. So there's three connectors that are attached here. There's this top one, just pushing the top tab. Yeah. Pulls right out. Same thing down here, just push this top tab in. And it'll pull right out. And then the last one, push this little top button here, right there, and it pulls right out. Now this is disconnected. Let's go ahead and remove it out of the way. Now there are two connectors underneath here. The left one is a gray connector. It may be very hard to see, but the left one is gray. The right one is black. We want to remove the one on the right and connect our T-harness into. So there's a little push tab up top here. Just push the tab on top and pull it right out. So as I said, there's two connectors, the gray one and the black one. Only the black one is going to fit into the female portion of the T-harness. The male connector of the T-harness is going to fit right back into where this came out of. If you're trying to fit the connector and it doesn't fit into here, then you have the wrong connector. So just make sure you have the black one and not the gray one. So we can go ahead and attach our T-harness into where that connector came out of. And then connect the other portion into the T-harness. Now you're going to route the wiring that we have sitting on the floor there up to underneath the steering wheel column, and it's going to connect onto these four connectors here. All right, let's route 2 wires. Let's route the base wire, and let's go ahead and route the harness wire. They're going to route up through this channel here, back behind this piece here. It's going to route underneath the column, behind these bars, behind over here, and it's going to route through this little channel, and it's going to pop out here to where we can connect it to our connectors that are attached to the T-harness. The base knob is going to route up here, come back behind here, and I'll just drip that wire over to the front, and I'm going to Velcro the base knob right up front here. Start with the T-harness. All right, to make this routing a little bit easier, you're going to remove this lower metal panel here. It's 2 8mm bolts. Let's pull those out. You don't have to. You're just pushing a wire through here, but just it's easier to take it out. Now we're just going to feed this through over here. And that's what we're after right there. So now we're going to connect these connections at the T-harness, connector to connector following the color, right? So match the green and the purple with the green and the purple, and the gray and the white with the gray and the white. If you follow the colors, there's only one connector that'll match each side of it. Like so. Like so. Like so. And like so. So it's all connected. I'm going to pull this back through, and we can just kind of push the slack underneath here. We can tuck this up inside there. We can just tuck these behind there, and that should be plenty of room to be able to put the panel back. There we go. So now that the wire harness is connected, before I move on to the base knob, I'm going to go ahead and just button this up. I'm going to put this piece back together. So let's drop this glove box down so I can connect that bolt underneath there. All right, so let's put this piece back in here. And we're just going to attach the same connectors, of course, backwards. There's 3 connectors. All right. Now we can push this back into place. Make sure the wires fit in there. Let's go ahead and put our 2 screws back in. And we can put this lower trim panel piece back on. Go ahead and put that bracket back on there. You can, of course, zip tie this back behind here. Let's go ahead and get our base knob wire. It's going to route up the side here, like I said. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to Velcro it to the front of the panel here. And find a spot that works. If you wanted to move it over here, I mean, The wire is a good bit lengthwise to where you can route that anywhere you want to. I'm just going to go right there. Again, this is just demonstration purposes. You can route that and you can put that anywhere you want to. You can screw it into your dash if you want to. We're not going to screw anything into anything. All right, our harness is connected to the T-harness, connected to the radio. Base knob is ran. Last thing to do to get our power and signal everything to our kit is to run the power. So power wire is down here. It's ready to go. There's a rubber grommet up in the firewall there that we're going to grab that grommet, pull it out. We're going to poke a hole in there, and then we're going to feed our 4-gauge power wire through that. To mention, this is a 4-gauge. Most of our kits do come with a 4-gauge. So we're going to finish the power running. All right, so here's this grommet that we're going to pull out right here. It's a really soft rubber grommet. We can pull it out from the inside here. And I'm just going to cut a slice in the middle here to push the power wire through. I'm going to route the power wire kind of up through this channel here and around to go up through the grommet. Attach this onto the grommet and then push it through and grab it from the engine side and pull it through the rest of the way. I will feed this through. I can just hold it in here for now. I'm going to go to the engine side. I'm going to pull the rest of it through the engine compartment. I can push what I can through here also. All right, so the power is ran through the engine compartment. Here's the lead. What we're going to do is we're going to connect the power to the fuse block. We're going to mount the fuse block, and then we're going to connect the power lead to the battery. Before we do that, we need to remove this 13mm bolt in order to mount the fuse block behind here. So I would recommend getting a wrench style versus a socket and a drill or anything. There isn't much room to work with in here. Now, let's go ahead and mount or connect our power harness to our fuse block here. This just slips in, an Allen key tightens down. Let's put our cover on. We're going to go ahead and slide this amp bracket in. You'll notice this side of it slides into a little groove in the side of the Bronco engine here on the side. Recommend going this way to where you feed it in, top side first, and then just drops right down in like that. Grab your 13mm bolt and just tighten this bolt down. All right, now that's in, we're going to go ahead and land our power. Since the first thing that we did, we grounded it. Everything is secured in the back there. If you want to go and check just to make sure you did tighten the ground down. You want to have your power land as the last thing that you do. That's usually what we do. The fuse is already inside the block, so landing this will light it up. So let's go ahead and land it. And put it on. That's normal. It's scary, but it is normal. There you go, power's on. Now we can do a quick little power test. We can turn the accessories on just to make sure that the amp turns on, and we can button everything up after that. So let's go ahead and check that out. Make sure we have power. All right, everything is connected. Now it's time to do just a quick power test. And we just want to make sure that the module, the pack module, the line out converter module is what that is. And this one here, we're using the LC5i Pro. Want to make sure that that's getting power as well as the amplifier. So we're just going to turn the accessories on, make sure we get power. And I can see it from here. The LC5i Pro lit up, and I have confirmation that the amplifier lit up as well. So we're going to go ahead and turn it off. So now we can go ahead and button it up, but I will say this. Now may be a good time to go ahead and dial in the amplifier, do all of your sound testing, make sure that the fade and balance is set up correctly. We do all of the wiring for you, so it should be, but in case that something is switched around, you're just going to want to confirm that before you put that trim panel piece and put everything back together. Right, so I'll turn it back on, put some music on, fade, balance, you know, go left, right, front, rear, make sure that all of the corners are working as they should. The gains are not set up on the amplifier from us. We do that just because each customer may want them set up individually, you know, for your own listening, however you want to. So we don't set the gains up. So you're gonna have to set the gains up on your own. So now is when you're gonna wanna set the gains up as well. The best way to set the gain up is turn the gains all the way down on the amplifier, then turn the volume of your radio up to about 75%. And then on channel 1 on the amplifier, turn that gain up until you hear a little bit of distortion coming from the speakers, and then back that gain down a little bit. And then move on to the next channel. The channels are separated by speakers. Channel 1 is going to be your front speakers, channel 2 is going to be your rear speakers, and channel 3, which would be the sub, which would be your 5th channel on the amplifier. So go ahead and set your gains up, set everything up before you button it up. For this here, we are done. We're going to go ahead and button it up and put everything back together. All right, we're going to put this panel back in, do what you did backwards. Remember these two nubs right here are for the bolts. So you want to line these up with the holes in the dead panel trim piece. I use a pair of needle nose pliers to put these on. I kind of find it best to just be able to line it up with the bolt and start it with the bolt first. All right, let's go ahead and put this center trim panel piece back in. It's going to snap down. That in. There you go. Now it's time to button up the back. All right, everything has been buttoned up, obviously, except for the back area here. We need to add a couple of fasteners still to the kit here. We have 2 bolts that we didn't put in before, so we need to go ahead and bolt those down, and then we can start putting the trim panel pieces together back here. So again, 10 millimeter, using the factory hardware. All right, so you notice I have the subwoofer wire here. This speaker wire is for the subwoofer. This will come connected to the 5th channel of the amplifier. This is exposed because this can be ran to any subwoofer that you choose with your bundle. Our options are going to include a side enclosure subwoofer, a downfiring subwoofer. We have a tailgate subwoofer. So this is just, I left this out because we're going to route this and connect this to a downfiring sub once we have the floor mounted, or once we have the floor down. So in order to continue here, we need to put this side panel piece back first, and then we can put the front and the rear trim pieces down. So let's put this in first. don't forget to reconnect your light and the 12 volt. Connect the other. Don't forget this other little sensor back behind here, which was the first connector that you removed when you took the panel out. There you go. That's in. Now we can put this trim panel piece in the back. So again, I have this exposed because this is going to connect to a subwoofer that we're going to put on top there. This little trim piece clips up on top here. And don't forget the little bracket connection that screws back into here. Let's put the front trim panel piece on now. Let's put our floorboard down. We have one more trim panel piece to put on there, which goes on the side of the rear door there. Here you go. That just snapped down. Let's go ahead and rest our sub there and plug it in. All right, so the full system has been installed. This Bronco already has the speaker upgrade. We did a component set of speakers up front. We did 6.5-inch rear upgrade in the back here. As you saw today, we did the full system, which included the 5-channel amplifier. This is for the non-B&O Bronco 21 and plus. As I said, we just set this sub back here, but our sub bundles will include several different options, so you can certainly choose a bigger, smaller side enclosure, tail enclosure, whatever, right? So I hope you saw how easy this bundle was to install with the Trail 7 plug and play kit that we put together for you. Everything is pre-wired, everything is assembled, everything is attached. You'll be able to choose different amplifiers and different configurations to fit your needs, fit your budget, and fit what you're after. If you'd like to pick up your plug and play full system bundle from Trail 7, if you'd like to see any other options for your Bronco, please visit us at www.trail7.com. And until next time, we'll see you out there.